he says, this is Asafa Powell, by the way, that I'm talking about. He says that if I had the chance, I would not have run for Jamaica. I would have chosen another nation because of how they've treated me and how they've not supported me along the way in terms of my career. And he says if his children do then continue to do track and field and run, he'll make sure that they either go to Ghana or either they represent Ghana or they represent Canada. So, Jay, do you think someone who speaks like that at the end of all of this is a traitor, or do you think because of the reasons that he stated, it's justified?
So, Asafa Powell responded to videos of his children running in their primary school meets. You know, by the way, Shelley-Ann Fraser Price, every single year she's out there like
no mercy,
just like
no
putting the sword to these players. I absolutely and she's warming up. So I was like, man, what a menace! Like, why are you warming up right now for these folk who work behind the desk, like in their daily lives? Oh man, but. So from those videos and the comments in the videos, because of course Asafa Powell's children that are the future's bright, you know, and he kind of kicked everybody in the you know what, like slow your roll, guys.
Yeah.
Don't get so excited unless you're getting excited for them as individuals. But in terms of the future of Jamaican sprinting, nah. The likelihood is that if my kids do progress to becoming world-class athletes, they're not going to represent Jamaica. And of course, that would have hurt the Islanders, you know, listening to that. But then, Chuck, you know me, like I've told you this before that
overrated.
representing your country and being patriotic is if there's a war and you strap on the guns and whatever the case may be, and you go on the front lines to defend your country. That's being patriotic. Sports can be. Don't get me wrong, but where the issue is, and Asafa Powell is pointing to this, is that administratively, it's terrible. It's absolutely bad. Like, and he speaks from experience, right? That the support wasn't there, and you think of his international teammate, Blake.
Yeah,
he said the same thing. That I'm celebrated in Europe, in Jamaica. It's as though I'm not the 2011 world champion. It's as though I'm not the second fastest man ever in both the 100 and the 200. You could swear that I've never done anything for this island, for this country, you know? And someone might look at that and say, you spoiled, or you want to be praised. But what he's speaking to is the fact that just a recognition that I get from other countries, this prophet is without honor in his hometown, you know? And from an Asafa Powell who like goes off of his experiences, as a parent, you want better for your kids, right? If you've gone through some things, you want to protect them from going through the same things. And from where he's sitting, from where he's standing, from where he's observing Jamaican athletics, regardless of the success of the athletes, what he says, it had more to do with the individuals than it did with the organization themselves. And that's not something I would want for my kids. And if I could do it again, I'd do differently. And this is my position, that because it's a job at the end of the day, especially when you're talking about like sprinting, right? When you're like the top of the game is still internationally. It is the world champs. It is the Olympics. I mean, you saw, for example, at the Olympics, Seb Cole introduced $50,000 prizes for the winners, and this is the same with the World Championships. So if I'm going to be doing my job, where it's not just I'm just strapping on the colors and it's just pride, but this is my livelihood, I want the conditions to be as conducive to my success as they can be. And if that means not running under this flag, it does not mean that I'm no longer Jamaican or whatever nation I come from. I'm not patriotic or feel deeply for the people and the land. But in terms of this job, there are better conditions to do it under and greater success to be garnered elsewhere. Take me there.
I mean, I think to myself, if we think of the context of football or rugby, where club football is what you primarily do, and then you then go play for and represent your country. If that was the situation, then I'd say, come on, Asafa, is it really that bad? Because you get a regular paycheck, you get that regular support, you get a fully fledged career in that particular club, and then you then go represent your country. That's why players like who was Aubameyang, they also go represent Gabon. I think it's Gabonese. While playing for Dortmund and Arsenal and having the time of his life, and then you'll sleep at airports and complain. but it wasn't that much in terms of, it was just a bad week. It was just a bad 2 weeks but also I'm getting in touch with my roots because I don't live there as well. I live in Europe, I work in Europe, and I'm well off, I'm healthy, I'm good. Versus you grew up there, this is all you know, and at the very height, these are the people who are controlling where my career goes, or rather, these are the people who are aiding or not aiding where my career goes. And with Springsteen, like you said, at the very highest level is international. And then when you think to yourself, Aguti, we could have been better this time, except for someone didn't send an email. Someone didn't send the right coaches. Someone didn't sign a sponsorship deal. We didn't get the flights to go to wherever. You're like, is it really worth doing? Because sometimes international value, as you said, does not hold that much weight because someone like a Matty Cash can say, Guti, England is full. Let me be Polish. And all of a sudden he's Polish. And people just switch chairs like that. But I think to myself also, Jay, in terms of, I don't know how well it's gone for Samuel Eto'o, but he's been the one who's been complaining, and he's since then ascended to then say, I want to have a hand in what's gone wrong in Ghanaian football, Cameroonian football. I want to change things around there. I don't know if Asafa Powell has an appetite for that, but isn't that how you bring about change? Instead of saying everything is bad and therefore let's not go there, don't you want to then change the experiences of others because you have seen what you've gone through and then make sure that everyone who's behind you has a better experience? Not to say that he has to, because oftentimes you can't make that argument, because not to say that once you've done running, you must then go to be a board member or an executive in terms of your country's affairs when it comes to sports or athletics. He might not want to do that because he's then stated that no one wants to be, no athlete wants to retire and then work a 9-to-5 job. And I'm like, Asafa, careers are very short when it comes to athletics. Is that realistic? But I get it as well because you can have a chance to be really paid and be well off and be comfortable because of what you've done in your prime years. But Jay,
so what I think what meant by that, Chuck, is that in his career, if the option was running for Jamaica or retiring, and I don't want to do that. If my other option is retiring, and if that's going to be the option put up for my kids, no. As an athlete, you want to continue being an athlete, and if the pathway to doing that is running for another country, let's do that rather.
Okay. I understand that better now. But I think, Jay, if it's not working, you can't force it to work because, I mean, how often do we advocate and fight for Banyana Banyana in terms of if only there was a professional league, if only Danny Joran wasn't shady with their money and was upfront. There's only so much you can do in terms of fighting for certain things, So I think, Jay, I would have preferred that he fights and tries to change the condition of his country because there's something about, I come from this place, these are the people that I identify with, and when I go up there, they're like, oh, there's one of our own. But it's something else as well when you're like, do I really still want to be known as part of them because they're not treating me well? And whenever we go into international places, the guys who are unprofessional, eat. The guys who are never there on time, the guys who are never signing things and contracts and things are always amiss, it's us. Then you tend to say to yourself, maybe I don't want to be a part of that. So I do understand him, but I don't know, man. Like I said, it's...
So, Chuck, my final thing on this would be this, right? Mm-hmm. That the indictment by Powell or Blake, or even a Leon Bailey who stepped away from the Jamaican national team, right? Or even if you think about Benny McCarthy when he was playing, and we've heard his teammates who played with him in the national team, remember how the reports were like Benny's always causing strife whenever he's in camp with Bafana Bafana. But then after the fact, like after their careers, when Benny says, I didn't need the money. I was not being greedy because I needed the money from Safa. But I was trying to help my brothers get